Before we go on and apply this quick mockup to our Bootstrap page, let's just do one last thing, and that's I want to change the color to the darker shade so that footer and the navbar are the same color, so that I get some kind of a better looking layout. And this also gives me an idea of what I'm going to do with my website. I'm going to use one of the Bootstrap's contextual colors in the navbar, and then that very same color is going to be the background color of my footer. Okay, so now at this point we have a pretty good idea of what we want to achieve. And we could take this whole layout, save it, slice it up, make it fancy or whatever, but there's really no need for that. Instead, what I'm going to do is I have the basic knowledge of what I need to do with code, and that's where I'm going to start with. And I'm not going to even save this PSD file. I'm just going to refer to it as needed and take it from there. So we've got navbar, jumbotron, this kind of like text intro area, testimonials, and footer. Okay, so back in our site, we already did a couple of those things, and looking at the current state of our website, we've got the index page and the About Us page. At this point, we're going to focus on the index page, and since we don't have the card anywhere at this current moment, I'm simply going to erase the include card line from my index page, and I'm going to press Ctrl S to save it. It's regenerating the file, so now if I refresh, it's gone. And next thing I want to do is I want to continue with the text here, because as my Photoshop mockup says, I've got a title and 2 lines of text here. So I'm going to go like this. I'm going to say, instead of welcome to the index page, I'm going to say try our services. And I'm also going to add another class here, and that class is going to be text center. This is Bootstrap class, and what this class is going to do, I guess you can already see, is going to center the text inside the page. So that's it, and we're going to follow it up with 2 paragraphs. So I'm going to say p class equals lead, and that's going to make my text a little bit bigger. And I'm going to say we provide the very best services in our industry. And then we're going to say /p to close the p tag. And then just to compare, I'm going to say p class equals, and I'm not going to pass anything in, and I'm going to say we are the industry leader in the services we provide our customers. Just some filler text here. So I'm going to press Ctrl S to save it. We'll wait for it to regenerate, and we can see that paragraphs that have the lead class have a slightly larger font, and the font family is different. So it's up to you which one you're going to use. At this point, I think we can go with the lead text on both paragraphs, and we're going to say text center, and we're going to do the same thing right here. Press Ctrl S to save, refresh, and okay, so now it's fully regenerated, and we can see that this section is kind of taking shape. The only thing that bothers me a little bit is that there's no space between the heading and the paragraph, the first paragraph here, and we're going to rectify that easy by adding a utility class of Bootstrap 4, and that is mt-5, which means margin top -5. And as you can imagine, we've got empty 1, 2, 3, 4, and the 5 is the largest margin there is built in as a utility class in Bootstrap. So now when I hit save and wait for the site to regenerate and press reload this page button, we see the difference. Now maybe mt5 is too big, so I'll go mt3, Control S, wait for regeneration, refresh, and I think that's quite nice. Okay, so we're gonna follow this up with this section here, and that's the testimonials section. And since we're building a testimonials component here, what we need to do is we need to actually use the block quote component. So I'm going to go block quotes here on the official website, and we are going to find a nice block quote that we can use. And I guess we could use this centered one. So let's just copy this here. And first we're going to include block quote.html. Control S to save it, and it's going to throw an error because we don't have block quote yet. So I'm going to temporarily stop the server, cd inside the includes, and type code block quote.html. Now wait for it to open, and I'll press Ctrl V to paste in the code that I copied from the official documents. And now I'm going to tab in the P and the footer, press Ctrl S to save it, and close the block quote file. Back in here I'm going to type Jekyll build, and finally I'm going to save Jekyll serve. And now that the server is running, when we press refresh, okay, I made a mistake because I've built my Jekyll project from inside the includes folder. So I'm going to have to delete the site here, because that's what Jekyll builds. Jekyll builds the files that it's going to serve inside the underscore site folder. So if you paid close attention earlier, you would have seen that when we installed this project with Jekyll new project 1 -- blank, that it had certain folders here, but none of them was underscore site. The underscore site folder is created once you actually build the Jekyll project with the Jekyll build command. So we're not going to build the project inside the layouts, because inside the includes, inside the includes, because that wouldn't make sense, because that would omit all the other files except the includes files. So we need to build our project from the root, and that's what I'm going to do right now. So I'm going to go cd ... to go one level up. Now I'll say Jekyll build, and I'll go Jekyll serve. And once that's done, when we press refresh, we get everything that we wanted, except that we're not using the color that we wanted to have here. So we wanted to have the color on the under the block quote, the testimonial section. So we're going to open the block quote. So let's stop the server real quick. Let's go code underscore includes block quote.html, And let's first Control X to cut it, and let's type div class equals container. Maybe add a bit of a margin up top, MT5, and BG warning. Okay, so we're gonna have a warning background. And let's close the div. And now paste this code back in. Format the inside code, the code that sits inside the div. Now press Ctrl S to save everything. Back in here I can go Jekyll build, and next I'm gonna type Jekyll serve, and what we should get is an updated version of our website. So that's it. However, we want the container to spread the full width of the page, the orange container here. So I'm going to open the block quote again, and this time I'm not going to open it from git bash, but rather I'm going to press the Control-Shift-T combination, and that's going to reopen my tab here, the last tab that I closed. And here I can say I'm going to use another div around all of this code. So I'm going to say div class equals container dash fluid, and I'm going to close it, and I'm going to paste back in the code that I had earlier, and let's just indent it properly. And if you're wondering how I'm doing this, I pretty much go to the end of the div, hold down the Shift key, click the beginning here, and now if I press tab, it's going to move all the code that I selected by one tab to the right, and if I hold down Shift and press the tab key, it's going to move it to the left. So it's quite a nifty little trick to quickly format your code. Of course, you can always use code formatting extensions, but that's another story. So I'm going to press Ctrl S to save it. The file is regenerating. Let's refresh. And of course, we need to move the BG warning to the container fluid. So save it again. Wait for it to regenerate and refresh. And now we've got what we wanted. And finally here I could give it maybe padding top 5, padding bottom 5, Control S, wait for it to complete, hit refresh, and much better. Okay, so we've got the navbar, the Jumbotron, the services, and of course now the services section could use a little bit padding of its own. So I'm going to say padding top 5, padding bottom 5, Control S, wait for generation, press refresh, and I guess you can already see the workflow here. We set basically all the websites that we are going to build are going to follow the same pattern. We're going to first set up the system that's going to use our partial files. At this point this is Jekyll, but later on in the course I was thinking to maybe use another system, but it's still too early to discuss that. Anyway, you use a system that's going to include HTML partials, then you change with don't repeat yourself the partials in certain places, and then those changes are going to reflect in your website as you're developing it, and that way you pretty much it's a very iterative approach. Okay, so the last thing to do is to add the footer, and we're going to do that in the next video.